Hello and welcome to today's session. Um, our topic for today is titled UK Corporate Taxation and Strategic Tax Management. My name is Lucky, as you can see on the screen. And of course, we'll start with an introduction. I will introduce myself, allow participants to as well introduce themselves, and then I will move on to talk about the learning objectives. But briefly here, I should be able to outline what objective they hope to achieve, on the first day of this meeting. And of course, they should be able to achieve or understand where or much better the structure of the UK task world. How is it organized? How is it organized? And of course, we know that it is organized through three tiers of profits, and it starts at 19%, 25%, and in between, of course, uh, eh, there is a marginal tax band. Yes. And okay, we equally look at the responsibilities of, we'll look at the responsibilities of taxpayers, as we can see here, um, in the UK. What are they expected uh, to do as taxpayers? Of course, we'll be looking at tax returns, due dates. It is responsibility of taxpayers to look at all of these to ensure that they meet their deadlines. Um, we will look at generally the UK tax framework. What is the framework? And of course, we'll take an overview of HMRC role in tax administration here in the UK. And we'll look at the Enabling Acts, the Corporation Tax Act of 2009, which of course incorporated all previous tax acts, and then all the amendments that were done to it in the 2010 Corporation Act, of course. We equally look at the 2024 Finance Act as well, which of course has to do with a lot of issues that are relevant to the corporate world. We also look at the tax residency and the scope of charge. Who distinguish between companies that are resident in the UK and those that are outside of it. The concept of taxable profits will be looked at in depth. Would formally define what taxable profit is. We'll use examples, case studies to examine what are allowable and disallowable expenses for companies. And then we'll have an overview of what capital allowances are uh, for companies or businesses. Uh, and then again, we'll look at the filing of returns and deadlines for companies, the city tax return process. We'll look at that and see how companies are able to uh, um, leverage on that to avoid deadlines, payment of deadlines, fines, and interest, penalty regimes. We'll be looking at that as well, and digital reporting, which of course is aimed at making tax reporting and tax payments easier for companies. Of course, we'll cap the day with a case study. We'll consider a small company, hypothetical company, and participant, of course, will calculate tax liability based on data given to them. And of course, they will make the submissions online using a QR code I would have developed. And of course, I will evaluate the result. That will be the end after discussions. And then in day two will border on tax planning, reliefs, and cross-border structuring. We'll recap the highlights for day one, and we'll talk about the meaning of tax planning. We'll look at strategic versus operational tax planning, aligning tax strategies with corporate objectives, etc. And then, of course, reliefs and incentives. They are very, very germane to survival of businesses here in the UK. And so we look at research and development, tax regime, the patent post regime. Yeah, that is very important. We'll look at that in depthly. And loss relief and group relief strategies that can be adopted by companies. And then again, we'll look at cross-border taxation. As you can see here, cross-border taxation, cross-border taxation, which is very important for overseas company as well. Look at double taxation receipts, or treaties or agreements between the UK and other companies. What are the we look at the withholding tax mechanisms that companies can actually use uh, to leverage on, and of course to maybe reduce the effect of double city. And then we will look at the OECD guidelines for transfer pricing as well. And then, of course, we'll see how this can be balanced using efficiency reporting with compliance ethics. Um, and then we'll look at our UK firm using the case study of a UK firm to look at this. And then there will be interactive session for companies, for participants to simulate a multinational structure. Then, of course, in day three, we border on advanced strategic audits and task risk management. We'll be looking at what are those things that um, what the company's finance strategies that are available. We'll look at this and dividend planning as well. And we'll be looking at those of triggers of tax audits in a company and disclosure requirements. So it's going to be feed. We know how to map our tax risk, to identify risk, how to mitigate them. All of this will be built into the program. We look at the trends in the reporting world, the digital taxation, environmental sustainability tax, AI and automation in tax compliance. All of these are emerging trends that we must look at. Yeah. And then, of course, we'll reflect on everything that we have done. Of course, this will lead participants uh, to develop uh, to develop a personal tax strategy framework. Yeah, thank you very much.